What up? It's Chris from LaserLemming.com and Nintendo's own. What up? It's Chris from LaserLemming.com and Nintendo's own Shigeru Miyamoto, the creator of Mario and so many other franchises. Most recently brought to light Pikmin, has gone on record in an interview saying that video games should stop trying to imitate films. This is what he said in a nutshell, essentially. But not everybody agrees. Not everybody agrees. Particularly the two main competitors of Nintendo, Sony and Microsoft. They've both pushed in the direction of video games being more like films. And you can see that with games like Uncharted or The Last of Us, or in Microsoft's case, you could probably say Halo a little bit, but more so with games like Rise, even though that was just published and not developed by Microsoft. They still push towards that cinematic experience. And Miyamoto does not like that. He doesn't like that. And it's funny because he's pushing and promoting his new Pikmin short movies project, which is just about 20 some odd minutes of I think 3 different movies based upon the Pikmin games. Just cute little movies, cute little stories. And he didn't direct it though, because he doesn't see himself as a storyteller. He sees himself as a game designer. And that's true, because if you look at his games, he's very much always been pretty gameplay first. And you look at developers like David Cage, the guy who made Heavy Rain and most recently Beyond Two Souls and that other game, Indigo Prophecy. He totally disagrees. He's like the anti-Miyamoto. He's saying, he believes that we need to push more forward towards the storytelling aspect. Games need to really grip you emotionally. He wants games to make you cry, make you feel something inside. But Miyamoto wants you to feel something too. He wants you to feel the light and just getting lost in the world. They both want you to get lost, but they want you to get lost for different reasons. Miyamoto wants you to get lost in the gameplay and the world that you're interacting in. David Cage wants to be a fucking director. He just won't get into the fucking film industry. I don't know. He wants to push the medium. He wants to make interactive movies, essentially. Now, Uncharted is not so much like the David Cage games. They're more gameplay. There's more gameplay aspects and elements, more traditional gameplay elements, I should say, in Uncharted games. But you know what you're getting when you get into an Uncharted game by this point. It's a lot of cutscenes that kind of fit in seamlessly, usually, with the gameplay, at least when you're in a level. But, there's going to be that longer intro, outro that you just don't play. Now, Mr. Miyamoto, he has affected the way games are designed at Nintendo to a great extent. Now, Super Mario Galaxy is one franchise I want to bring to light in particular, because the guy who directed Galaxy, the first Galaxy game, actually he directed both. But anyway, the guy who directed it, in the first Galaxy game, if you've played it, there's a lot more storytelling going on. And I thought it was kind of neat when I was playing it. I thought the story was neat. It wasn't something you had to participate in. It was just this, it was told through little storybooks that you can come back to on a regular basis. But Miyamoto didn't like it so much. And that kind of stung for me a little bit, just because I thought it was a nice little optional thing. But he took that away in Galaxy 2. Even though he didn't direct the game, he took it away. And he took away the big, beautiful hub world that you saw in the first Galaxy game. He wanted it to be more straightforward. It's more about the gameplay. So if you go from Galaxy 1, which is more like a Super Mario 64 type of hub, to Galaxy 2, which is much more like a traditional 2D Mario game as far as moving from level to level, it kind of sucked a little bit of the joy out for me. A little bit. Even though Galaxy 2 was such a well-designed game with awesome, greatly crafted levels, that need to pull out that little flair kind of kind of took a little bit of the personality away from the game for me. But it wasn't a bad game by any means. So here's what I think. I think that there can be room for both. I personally don't get too invested into games like Heavy Rain or Beyond Two Souls, just because it hasn't been done well enough, I guess. Back in the day, I used to really be into the idea of cutscenes. I remember first time I saw Metal Gear Solid 2 being played. I couldn't wait for the guy playing it to get to a cutscene. Complete opposite now. Complete opposite. I'm playing Bayonetta and Bayonetta 2, and there's these cutscenes, and maybe they're just not that great, but I just want to get back to the gameplay, because the gameplay, that's why I'm there. That's why I'm holding a controller. I'm holding the controller to play the game, not so I can watch a movie. But I think it has its place. I think it has its place. I can dig something that's well written. That's why in Uncharted or The Last of Us, it doesn't bother me at all, because those are very well written pieces of work. And the gameplay isn't bad either. I enjoy the games as well. So when you can combine them both, I think it's great. I don't think that every game needs to be this. Naughty Dog is really pushing for that. That's the direction they've been going. Remember, these are the guys that used to make games like Jak and Daxter. Those are very, action-y, platformy, fun, gamey games. Even though they had cutscenes, they were gamey games. And they've definitely moved in a different direction. And I don't think they have any intention of going back. They are seen as a huge AAA developer in the industry now, and people compare other developers to Naughty Dog, other games to Naughty Dog. Well, that doesn't look as good as Uncharted, doesn't look as good as Last of Us, and so I think there can be compromise, and I think Nintendo has room to allow more franchises and games to expand upon story, because story isn't a bad thing. It's not a bad word, but it's often done poorly in video games. And he was recently, not too recently, but he's making Star Fox. He's helping create Star Fox, the new Star Fox for the Wii U. And they asked him if there's going to be a story to the game. It's such a crazy question that it's a crazy scenario where you have to ask whether or not there's going to be a story in a Star Fox game, because every Star Fox game to date has had a story. But when you're dealing with Miyamoto and the direction he's been going over the last few years, it's a valid question to ask. And he said, yeah, there's going to be a story. It's not going to be deep. It's not going to be something that's too complex. It's just going to be something that gives you reason, context pretty much with wherever you're going in the game. And so I think it has its place for both. I think it has its place for both. Uncharted games could have more gameplay elements, more interactivity. You're playing and you're going through a scene where everything's just falling apart around you and you need to jump from one spot to the other. 99% chance you're going to make that jump, because if you don't, it sucks you out of the cinematic experience. And so you're really rolling the dice there. Are you playing a game or are you playing a movie? I remember when Uncharted 2 came out. How did they advertise that game? They advertised it as, my girlfriend thinks we're watching a movie. That's how they advertised it. And Sony, they're the big movie studio. It's fucking Sony Pictures, This is what they do. They would love for video games to be seen more like movies. And they're succeeding in a lot of ways. But I personally think that there's room for both. I'm not so much a fan of the David Cage direction where games need to be interactive movies. I don't think that's necessary. But that's my thoughts. Share yours in the comment section below. Let me know, what do you think about Miyamoto's ideas about video games not imitating movies? Do you think he's right? Do you think there's room for both? Do you think that there's room for compromise? Or should we go more in the Uncharted direction, or even more hardcore into the David Cage interactive movie direction? Let me know. Subscribe for more if you haven't already. Thank you very much for watching. I'll see you next time.